Timberland. Tim,
Hey, brother.
what's up, bro?
I'm blessed.
How you doing?
I'm blessed.
You know what, bro? When you come on the show and I have someone as distinguished as yourself, I got to toast your career and more things to come. Appreciate you.
That's what great art is polarizing. Some people love it. You know, it forces you to have an opinion. Like, you know, at least you're not like wishy-washy about it. You know, it forces you to have an opinion, which is good, and I think it's needed.
They say power is just another word for danger in hip-hop's penthouse, and right now, the three names echoing through every hallway, every shadowy boardroom, and every DM are Drake, Diddy, and Jay-Z. It's the triangle no one saw coming, or maybe everyone saw it and no one dared to say it out loud. We're watching a calculated mogul, a streetwise kingpin, and a one-time boy wonder who decided he wouldn't stay anyone's understudy. All three have tasted the kind of fortune, fame, and leverage most of us can't even imagine. But what happens when those appetites crash together in a room full of secrets? That's not just industry beef, that's a silent war, with the fate of the entire business hanging in the balance.
Jay me on that, like
he was upset. He was upset on that record. Somebody pissed him off that day.
But it was just the conversations me and Jay have. He's so like intrigued by where my life is at because it's almost like he's seeing it happen again for somebody else. So he was like, I'm just gonna tell you all I've learned.
Right.
You know, and it was like a beautiful moment. I've really never heard Jay get that personal in a long time.
We've spent years watching Jay-Z play chess with a grin, flipping rivals, stacking deals, always 5 moves ahead. Diddy, meanwhile, has spun his own legend as the ultimate operator, the guy who can turn a party into a business deal and a lawsuit into a stepping stone. And then there's Drake, Toronto's crowned prince, who started as a punchline and ended up, well, the punchline everyone else is scrambling to avoid. Drake's house comes with a secret bookshelf passage and a pool that looks like it was stolen from a Bond villain. But lately, it's the boardroom he's been raiding. The tension that once simmered between him and Jay-Z over Grammy snubs and fondue plate salts, or that infamous punch from Diddy in Miami, suddenly those were just rehearsal for a real confrontation. What made these former allies start circling each other like predators with too much to lose? Word is, the turning point wasn't even public, it was brunch. Not just any brunch either, but the now infamous Black billionaire packed summit at Jay-Z's Rock Nation mansion in 2020. We all saw the Instagram smiles, the toasts, the suits crisp enough to cut glass, but a veteran PR insider swears what happened away from the cameras set this whole disaster in motion. That wasn't about legacy, the source mutters. It was business, and not the kind you talk about in the open. Some say Diddy and Jay-Z cut a deal to maintain their grip on the industry just as the heat started closing in on their old ways of doing business. In their minds, Drake wasn't an equal at the table. He was a golden pawn, a brand new asset to be shaped, spun, and ultimately contained.
I know you and Jay are cool, but it still has to be a little competitive when you go in and lay in your verse and him going in laying his verse, because I know you trying to eat him up, you trying to eat you up.
Yeah.
Now, when you listen to his verse, you be like, woo, he's going in, or same thing with Jeezy's verse or Wayne's verse.
Yeah, usually when it's your album, you gotta do your verse first. It's kind of like rare that someone will send you a song and be like, get on my album.
Did you ever want to do your verse over and be like, you know what?
You know what, actually, my verse was way harder on Light Up before.
But if they thought Drake was just there for the photo ops and the handshake, they miscalculated. What nobody expected was how quickly those smiles would turn to coded warnings and icy distance. Drake has always played the long game, sometimes through lyrics, sometimes with a social media wink that could mean anything, or everything. The lyrics started getting sharper, the alliances quieter, the parties a little less crowded. "Watch me take it," he rapped, and nobody was quite sure whether he was flexing or flashing a warning. The coded shots at Jay-Z about art references or the fondue plate jab during a Raptors game, those were just surface noise. The real moves were happening in backrooms and phone calls as Drake started pulling back from the empire he'd helped build. One Instagram snub, one missing verse at a time.
Man, you doing it, man. You deserve it, daddy. You putting in that work. Proud of you. I love you. Yeah.
Diddy, always more direct, was less amused. That Miami nightclub confrontation in 2014, supposedly about a beat, but we all know it's never just about a beat, turned physical. Diddy, used to running every room, let Drake know that disrespect wouldn't be tolerated, allegedly with his fist. Drake brushed it off on Instagram with a shot about either talking or stealing, and the industry started to realize this was a Cold War with no clear sides. Diddy later claimed it was nothing, just business, just confusion, nothing that couldn't be squashed with a phone call. But when was the last time someone this powerful punched someone else over a song and then let it go? Jay-Z, for his part, has always preferred to keep his hands clean. He slides through a situation, lets his lyrics do the talking, then floats above the fallout with a monster number and a handwritten note. But even Jay couldn't avoid the rift that grew as Drake stopped returning calls and started answering back in the studio. Their collaborations became sporadic. each new verse dissected by fans and rivals for hidden messages. The art references that Drake mocked, the lobster jokes, the platinum numbers, each line was another chess piece moving into place. Sometimes we just fall on opposite sides of the spectrum, Drake explained. As if anyone in hip-hop believes in coincidence anymore.
Meek is a dope rapper, but I think sometimes Meek falls victim to, I have to explain myself because they be playing with my name. And the more he responds, the more they keep playing with his name.
And then there's the bombshell nobody can quite confirm or dismiss. Multiple industry veterans, none brave enough to go on record, keep whispering about Drake's so-called industry blackmail files. It sounds too tabloid, too Hollywood, but the paranoia is real. Allegedly, Drake has kept a private stash of recordings, DMS, and after-party footage from his time inside the inner circle. It's not just about Diddy's infamous gatherings or Jay-Z's rumored coded warnings. The archive, if it exists, could be a disaster waiting to happen. There's no evidence, no smoking gun, just the constant nervous energy running through LA and NY boardrooms. The way certain names go silent when Drake's people walk in. The question on everyone's mind, what does Drake actually have? Why, if these files exist, hasn't he used them yet? One longtime publicist claims Drake's recent streak of cryptic lyrics and sudden feuds, sometimes seemingly out of nowhere, are warnings to the other two. Push me and I burn it all down. Some say it's just hype, that nobody in their right mind would blow up the entire industry just for revenge or leverage. But others aren't so sure. After all, in this triangle, nobody got to the top by playing it safe. It's not just the old business anymore. After Diddy's high-profile legal troubles, the entire circle is on edge, wondering who's next and what could come spilling out if the wrong file or clip drops online. The silence from Jay-Z is deafening. Diddy's circle is shrinking. Drake is moving like a man who knows where the bodies are buried and isn't above leaving a shovel at someone's front door.
In a court proceeding that has nothing to do with Wendy's career. Moreover, that were made in front of Wendy Williams. If true, that is outrageous because this judge, one, she's not in the entertainment industry, so I don't know where she would get off opining about that and why that's even relevant to her role as a judge, who's basically the judge of the law, and in this case, judge of the facts.
In the middle of all this, the public only sees the tip of the iceberg. We see the friendly hugs at a concert, the polite nods at award shows, but behind the scenes, alliances are shifting every week. One day, it's Jay-Z and Drake smiling for the cameras at Detroit's Ford Field. The next, it's Drake firing off a sly jab about who really owns what, and who's eating fondue instead of showing up for their team. The mutual respect, if it exists at all, is hanging by a thread, one that could snap with a single leaked message or out-of-context video. The old narrative, rivalries cooled by respect, competition kept friendly for business sake, doesn't play anymore. There are too many lawsuits, too many indictments, too much money tied up in streaming deals and backroom contracts. The old guard thought they could keep everything under wraps with NDAs and loyalty. But what do you do when the pawn turns out to be holding all the receipts? One executive, grinning like he'd seen this coming all along, says they always thought they could keep the next generation in line. Turns out the kid from Degrassi had the longest memory of all. And as if the tension wasn't already thick enough to cut, the backdrop is shifting from rumor to hard news day after day. Diddy's trial has sent shockwaves through every click, not just because of the allegations themselves, but because of what it says about the cost of loyalty in a world built on secrets. Jay-Z, for the first time in his career, is now named in lawsuits that drag his name closer to scandal than he's ever allowed. For years, Diddy and Jay-Z moved as brothers, strategists, and survivors, always a united front when things got messy. But as the walls close in, it's every man for himself, and no one wants to be the one left holding the bag if Drake really does have the vault everyone whispers about.
That's what great art is polarizing. Some people love it. It forces you to have an opinion. Like, at least you're not like wishy-washy about it. It forces you to have an opinion, which is good, and I think is needed.
In every verse, every Instagram post, every sudden silence from former friends, the real game is playing out in code. If Drake's files are real, if the whispers of encrypted hard drives and offsite backups have any truth to them, it's only a matter of time before the world sees what's really been going on behind those billion-dollar brunches and private jets. Until then, every move, every interview, every public handshake is just another turn of the screw, one more reminder that in this dangerous triangle, trust is always a temporary arrangement, and no one's safe when the stakes are this high. If these files exist, why hasn't Drake dropped them yet? And what are Diddy and Jay-Z willing to do to keep them hidden?
They did. It was a time where it was like, please, let this guy go away. So, that's just the nature of rap. Is competitive, and every time you go out there, you putting your career on the line.
Just beneath the sparkling soaked glitz, Diddy's infamous white parties weren't just the annual calendar highlight. They were the ultimate industry audition, a velvet rope ritual designed to lock in power. The headlines told us about a parade of A-list faces, linen suits, and summer smiles in the Hamptons, but the whispers that started seeping out in the last few years have forced everyone to look twice. According to 3 former publicists and a pair of event security staffers who have spoken with authorities, these parties were more than celebrations. They were social gauntlets. Invitees didn't just show up to drink and pose, they were stepping into a game of control, where alliances were made and broken under the guise of harmless fun. When Diddy winked at you and said, "Come into the VIP section," you knew you were going to have a really good night, recalled a former PR fixer, before admitting that good could mean very different things depending on who you asked. On paper, the white parties were the stuff of modern legend. Justin Bieber one summer, Mariah Carey and Paris Hilton the next, with Jay-Z never far from the action. But as the FBI's current investigation into Diddy's empire digs deeper, a much darker picture is emerging. The court filings and testimonies don't just mention random guests. They hint at a carefully curated guest list and a purpose behind every invitation. This wasn't just Diddy flexing his wealth. This was about cementing his place as the center of gravity for anyone who wanted access. The velvet rope wasn't a barrier, it was a funnel, pulling future collaborators and potential rivals alike into Diddy's orbit, sometimes for reasons that went far beyond music or business. For years, Jay-Z moved through these parties as both ally and co-conspirator, the two men publicly calling each other brothers, while their fortunes ballooned together.
Afraid of coming forward. They've been afraid of what he could potentially do to them within the industry, what he could do to them professionally, maybe even personally. And so yes, it's been a dark secret they've held on to for a very, very long time.
With Diddy now facing devastating charges and Jay-Z's own name surfacing in legal crossfire, the lines between host and accomplice are blurring fast. A legal analyst covering the ongoing federal trial points out that for the first time, Jay-Z is being forced to answer questions not about music, but about what he may have witnessed or known. And yet, for all the headlines, we keep hearing that the most damning evidence might still be out there, buried in hard drives and encrypted archives that nobody's been able to leak. No one's suggesting that every guest knew the full extent of what happened behind closed doors. But even A-list attendees are quietly asking their lawyers if they need to start distancing themselves, just in case.
I want you to think about this. Allegedly, Sean Carter is responsible for enacting Hype Williams to put Aaliyah on a faulty plane to move her out the way as punishment for rejecting him, and so he could level up Beyonce, who was struggling.
Where was Drake in all this? That's the question that's quietly circulating among insiders. At first, he was the outsider, the Canadian upstart invited to taste the good life and prove he could hang with the heavyweights. But as the years rolled on, his presence became more complicated. Was Drake ever truly a part of Diddy and Jay-Z's inner circle, or was he always on the edge, quietly observing, taking notes, seeing how the room shifted whenever the cameras turned away? One OVO associate claims that Drake attended at least 3 white parties in the early days, but started skipping them once his own empire began to rise. Another claims that after 2014, Drake kept his distance on purpose, refusing even to comment when pressed by journalists. The theory goes that even if he never got swept up in the worst of the after-hours games, he saw enough to know where the pressure points were, and how fast the story could turn on anyone.
Jay-Z got his ass whooped by his sister-in-law on camera. What's her name? Solange. You got his ass. The feds ain't step in and do nothing. The feds don't care about you getting your ass whooped.
Nowhere is the tension clearer than in the legend of the missing Miami footage, the one piece of evidence that could change everything. December 2014, Diddy and Drake, both in attendance at Club Live for DJ Khaled's birthday, reportedly get into a heated argument over the rights to the 0 to 100 beat. What began as a spat over music ended in a scuffle that, according to multiple eyewitnesses, left Drake shaken and Diddy furious. Some say Diddy landed a slap, others insist it was a punch. The official story was quickly papered over with public apologies and claims that no one was hurt. But the real drama isn't in the fight. It's in the cover-up.
That's not really beef, though. That's just competitive.
Competitiveness. All right, so you and Diddy, you and Puff cool?
No, I don't really rock with him.
Okay, damn.
Here's where it gets strange. Club Live, one of the most high-profile venues in MIA, is outfitted with state-of-the-art surveillance, the kind of security system that could capture every angle in perfect detail. For months after the incident, industry insiders waited for the footage to surface. It never did. According to a former Live employee who claims to have seen the unedited tape, the altercation was way more intense than the rumors suggested. More than a physical confrontation, it was a calculated moment. Diddy allegedly delivered a warning to Drake face-to-face, telling him that the industry had rules and that no one, no matter how hot they were, could just ignore the old guard. Whether or not the tape ever saw the light of day, its existence became an urban legend, fueling the paranoia and forcing everyone to wonder who's really controlling the story and what's at stake if the truth comes out. Some believe the tape was buried by mutual agreement. Both camps had too much to lose if the full footage leaked. Others claim Jay-Z intervened behind the scenes, calling in favors to ensure that the incident stayed a rumor instead of a viral moment. The club's owners have never commented, and with the passage of time, the story's only grown more radioactive. One Miami promoter, still working in the scene, says, "That tape is the holy grail. If it ever gets out, it could blow the lid off the whole triangle. And not just for Drake or Diddy." The implication is clear. Whatever was said that night wasn't just about music rights, but about keeping the old hierarchy intact. The footage might show a warning, a power play, or something so ugly that even the tabloids would hesitate to print it.
Believe what they want to believe anyway, so, I mean, why waste my time?
And sometimes you respond to something that brings way more attention to it, too.
That too, and it goes into another space, and then you just like, oh, y'all not listening to me.
In the meantime, the industry's center of gravity is shifting. The recent legal pressure on Diddy is forcing everyone to rethink their connections. Jay-Z's absence from the conversation is getting louder by the day. He's gone radio silent, leaving friends, rivals, and fans to speculate whether he's hiding out of caution or because he knows what's coming next. Diddy's former allies are tiptoeing away, one business partner at a time, as more details emerge about what those white parties might have really been covering up. The FBI has now collected testimony from several past guests, and there's a growing sense that if more evidence drops, even some of the most powerful names could find themselves on the wrong side of a subpoena.
And so what I want to say to Justin Bieber and to everybody that's following the situation is that Justin Bieber is a victim. I was horrified when I saw this, not because of the idea that Justin Bieber would be engaged in these sorts of things at these parties, but because I understood that this was a kid who was intentionally targeted by Diddy.
Against this backdrop, the rumors about Drake's so-called blackmail files only gain steam. Even as new lawsuits threaten to drag more people into the light, insiders keep whispering that Drake is sitting on a digital vault that could end careers, maybe even send a few industry giants scrambling for deals just to keep their secrets safe. One theory has it that after the Miami incident, Drake began to quietly document every suspicious encounter, every offhand comment, every time someone tried to pull him into a questionable meeting. The implication is chilling. Maybe he never intended to use the files, but the threat alone was enough to earn him a seat at the table. Or maybe, as some suggest, the time to use them is coming, especially if his rivals decide to test him one more time. Meanwhile, fans and commentators are left to connect the dots between public feuds, cryptic lyrics, and the endless chess game of Instagram follows and unfollows. When Drake raps about never needing the industry or owning the leverage, it's no longer just bravado. It's a possible nod to the arsenal he's amassed, insurance in a business where today's friend is tomorrow's adversary. We're watching a generation of superstars hedge their bets, leaking just enough to keep their enemies guessing, but never enough to force a true reckoning. It's the kind of high-stakes maneuvering that would make even the old East Coast, West Coast wars look quaint.
The question is he a criminal? Is he basically akin to a mob boss running several criminal enterprises? And while it's very clear to me he is a depraved, disgusting person, we have to prove that he violated the law.
The drama isn't contained to legal filings and rumors either. Other celebrities who orbited these parties and alliances, rappers, actors, moguls in their own right, are starting to feel the fallout. A few have quietly purged old photos from their social feeds. Others have issued vague denials or insisted they never saw anything. The careful choreography of public statements and private damage control is a show in itself, as everyone tries to guess who the next target might be if the dam really bursts. What happens if one of these files, videos, or encrypted chats leaks? What would it mean for the power structure that's held up the industry for decades? Some industry veterans argue that the old model is already collapsing, that the next generation isn't interested in protecting anyone but themselves. Others say this is just the cycle repeating, that today's scandal will be tomorrow's opportunity for someone smart enough to spin the fallout into a new brand, a new alliance, a new way to own the narrative. Still, with so much pressure mounting, it's hard not to sense the paranoia just under the surface. The triangle of Diddy, Jay-Z, and Drake isn't just about who's up and who's down. It's a cold, silent war being waged in private jets and secured mansions, with each man betting everything on the idea that his secrets are safer than the next guys. And all the while, the rest of the industry is forced to pick sides, knowing full well that whoever loses might not just lose their crown, but their freedom.
And what's really going to be interesting is the parade of celebrities who we expect to be mentioned and or called into that courtroom. You know, people who we hadn't heard about prior, like Mike Myers, you know, Austin Powers, Mike Myers. Why is he getting called? Why is he on the witness list? That'll be fascinating. And then, of course, there are the no-name, quote unquote, women who are going to have to find every ounce of courage they have.
With these men locked in a silent war, the question isn't just who will win, it's who will survive when the truth finally comes out. Are we about to see hip-hop's biggest empire implode in real time? Will Drake finally pull the trigger and expose the darkest corners of the elite? Or will Diddy and Jay-Z find a way to silence the rebellion before it starts? The only thing for certain is this: the battle for the soul of hip-hop has never been more dangerous, and the real story is still unfolding. So what do you think? Whose secrets are the most dangerous, and who's holding the winning hand in this game of betrayal? Drop your wildest theory in the comments below, and if you're brave enough to keep watching, we'll be right here, where the truth is always just one leak away. Stay sharp, stay curious, and until next time, keep your eyes on the shadows.